All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Crash Bang Boom podcast. Today's guest is Chris Hornbrook of Poison the Well. Chris and I hadn't talked in over 5 years, so we caught up about Poison the Well's killer new record, Peace and Place, his work with Greg Puciato on the Mirrorcell record, ubiquitous chops, focusing on grooving the modern shred race, drum lessons, favorite snares, and much more. Poison the Well's tour starts March 20th in Miami, and later they join Converge April 2nd through May 17th. Check out poisonthewell.com for specific venues and more dates to come. Crash Bang Boom podcast can be found on all podcast platforms, as well as both audio and video versions of the interviews on the Crash Bang Boom YouTube page. If you're digging the convos, check out any of the previous 300 plus episodes and feel free to subscribe and or leave a positive review, as it would be greatly appreciated. All right, Chris Hornbrook of Poison the Well. Always great to catch up, and Peace and Place rips. Psyched for y'all to hear it. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
All right, I'm here with Chris Hornbrook of Poison the Well, many other projects I'm looking forward to talking to you about. Man, what's happening? It's been about 5 years. It was COVID times the last time we spoke.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Things are good. It's just a little bit of downtime before we're in the beginnings of rehearsals before we hit the road with Converge beginning of April, and we're just trying to get these new songs tight and sounding, not all the songs, but like 5 songs we all have in the repertoire
right
to play, and just trying to get them tight, because none of the songs sound terribly difficult, but it's like to play them correctly, it's a little tricky.
Yeah. I mean, when you say tricky, is it that there are little subtle pattern shifts that you're trying to stick to that are on the recording? Is that sort of what makes it tricky, or is it also the chemistry of everybody's parts, sort of everything?
It's a little bit of everything. I mean, I think from a drummer's point of view, it's definitely a little bit more angular and it's a little bit more busy, which is great. But I think in the heavy world, not to big up myself or anything like that, but like, heavy world isn't necessarily known for having feel and groove.
Correct.
So that's what makes it tricky, because I that's one of like my highest values. It's like you have to be, even if you're playing odd meters, you have to be able to, not bang, but like nod your head to it. There has to be that feel that's there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like learning how to play that stuff, because when we recorded it, some of the stuff that we put together in the studio,
mm-hmm.
some of the stuff that we had like prior, because the record was done in 2 sessions,
mm-hmm.
and some of the stuff we had, and then the majority of it we recorded, and a lot of it we wrote while we were at Will's.
Wow.
So it was like having to relearn it, and then that whole thing. But yeah, it's like going over it and making sure that like it grooves and it hits a certain way. So because that to me is priority. Like, I think busyness is cool and speed's cool and all that stuff's cool, but like, you have to be, there has to be some feeling and some pocket behind, some groove behind what you do when you play. It doesn't matter if it's heavy or R&B or like, it has to have feel, or you're just a fucking drum machine.
Right.
It's no point, right?
Yeah. I tell you, the guy who always nailed that for me was Matt Cameron of Soundgarden.
He's one of the GOATs, man. He's, it's definitely what he did with Soundgarden. Because that's my particular favorite era. Not era, but I know he was in Pearl Jam forever, but
right.
Super Unknown is like the record for me.
Holy shit.
Super musical, like great fucking feel, great finesse, like dynamics are great. And he's not insanely busy, but it's also the period in time, the sort of chop revolution had not happened yet. That was like
right.
I think that was more relegated to like, the sort of jazz fusion world with like, Vinnie Colaiuta and those sort of, Dennis Chambers, those sort of guys. It hadn't made its way to where it is now, because it's pretty ubiquitous, man.
It is. Holy shit, boy, is it. Yeah. You're an outlier just for saying that, like, you're like over here trying to, within rock especially, try to think about like groove and space and,
Well, my thing is like, when something is everywhere, then it's nowhere, right?
Right.
So if everybody is trying to do the same thing and sound the same and pulling the same thing from the same players, same playbook, whatever, then like, yeah, you get a bunch of people that like, because we're all sharing information through TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and I think that's great. But then everything becomes homogenized, and everything kind of starts to sound the same, And then, like, I don't know. For me, I think what makes players unique is like their voice,
Uh-huh.
And it's like nuances, it's subtle things, it's how they do stuff. It's like repetition of licks. Like I have a few licks that I always turn to that like become things that are like personally mine, but that also add a bit of like a catchy element to playing, Um so like on one hand I think it's great because like the caliber of player out there, it's like it's almost like they start out the gate like like advanced.
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you kind of have to find your own sound. You have to find your feel. You have to find the way that you approach songs and you approach playing. And it's like, it's you ever see the meme where it's like the guy and he's like there's the steps and he like steps to the third one. That's kind of what it is, because I feel like in the formative years you find your pocket, you find your groove, you find your like very simple but catchy air drummy sort of stuff. And then at some point, like then you go to the, oh, I want to play fast, or I want to get really crazy fast double strokes, or I want to learn how to solo and be busy and all this sort of stuff, which like I said, it's a super valuable thing to have.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like it's just like the meme of the guy skipping all the stuff, like the fundamentals that are like pretty crucial in my opinion,
I agree. Yeah, for sure. That's wild, man. It's interesting to hear you sort of use that analogy as well. And to your point, it's easy to get lost. I myself am guilty of it in, perusing various social media platforms and being like, man, I need to go home and fucking rip some drum solos already. Luckily for me, I do play in some instances where I do play drum solos, so I have that outlet specifically within that, But yeah, it's and it's a good thing to have. I mean, I like that if called upon, I can play a drum solo, but I think the trick then there is to not let that affect my musicality and original projects, and that is where the lines get a little blurry. And I'm like, I've been shredding. Now I'm like, right, I have to like calm the fuck down and like groove and do all that, which you don't really see within necessarily the particular social media. I would say.
Yeah. If it's constantly at 10, then like it has no impact, right? So if you're constantly busy and you're constantly going off, there might be a point in the song where it needs to go higher. And if you can't go higher because you've been the highest that you can go within that song, it's like, where do you go from there? So it's just like interesting game. I'm going to say game, but it's this interesting battle of like finding where to put the like maximize what you can most in the space that you're given. That's going to serve what's going on and, serve whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the times that you can like show off a little bit, you can go a little higher. You do,
Yeah.
But I feel like that's definitely lost in social media because it's all about catching people's attention instantly and drawing them in. It's like with most people look at reels and TikToks for like 2 to 4 seconds.
Right.
And either it clicks or it doesn't,
right.
And then you're off to the next one.
Yeah. And I mean, part of what you're talking about is also nuance and patience, and that is two things that are relatively non-existent within the world that we're talking about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, lack of focus. I mean, I suffer from it too. I definitely am noticing I have brain rot going on, which I'm like, oh man, how do I fucking get away with this? I mean, I already have like ADHD to begin with, and it's like exacerbating those symptoms.
It's It's like, here's everything you always wanted to just get your scattered brain running in 1,000 directions simultaneously. It's and most of the drummers that I've spoken to, I've over 300 now. I'd say that's a pretty common trait that I've noticed amongst drummers.
Yeah,
for sure. So we got off on a tangent. I meant to circle back about the new record, which by the way is sounds awesome. Will Putney produce this one?
Yeah, produced, engineered, mixed, and mastered it.
Wow, the whole damn thing. That's crazy. He's
a one man. He's a one man stop. And you also too when you record with him, you basically live at his place because he has a fairly sizable house, and like it's like he's providing living, he's producing, he's engineering, he's mixing, it's the whole nine. So
Wow. Yeah, man, he produces some pretty big, heavy records for sure, and I think that
yep.
I think people are going to be psyched when they can hear this record front to back, like I have. Thankfully, it's big and powerful, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. He has his big full production. The drums are big and full. Everything sounds massive, and I always felt that like with our last records, minus Tropicrot, uh, the production, even though they kind of have their own sort of unique sonic identities, uh, for me, it was always like the drums felt a little hollow and a little not as big and thunderous as they could be. And it's just
Yeah.
time and place and people you work with and things you're trying to do, So, as being an adult and understanding more about that stuff and understanding more what you want is like, obviously going to Will, you were going to get a nice big old drum sound, but just a big old fucking record period. So
Yeah.
yeah, very, very happy with it.
Nice. When it came time to go out there as a band and record the tracks, etc. I'm assuming y'all did the fairly traditional record the drums first with scratch guitars, whatever, and then start to piece it together, or did you go last?
Nope. So the way Will works is you do the demoing stage. He uses Logic.
Okay.
So you essentially build everything out with like demo drums and like real sounding demo drums with real fills and real everything. And you get basically the framework of a song, and he does it in a complete full Logic session. So you're not opening and closing. It's like the entire record is in one.
Wow.
It's in one session. So
that's cool.
You want to bounce around and do stuff for efficiency. It's like real great.
That makes sense.
So what he does is you'll build, we'll all be in the room and we'll all be contributing and we'll all be, this should do this and this should do that, blah, blah, blah. And then you put the song together. And then once we have material, then what I'll do is I'll go, if I'm on site and we wrote the song there, I'll go into another part of the house where there's a drum set. I'll learn it. I'll embellish the parts. I'll fuck around with stuff. I'll sort of expand upon what we sort of came up with when we were in the room, like doing the song, and do my thing. And then what will happen is Ryan will start tracking guitars, like real proper guitars to what is there. So by the time we eventually do drums, that's the only thing that's kind of off site. So he has a sort of cottage that is turned into like a home drum room, I guess you'd say. He shares it with a few other individuals that do production out of there. And you just go there and, we have the full record and we get tones and everything sounds great. And, he has, some great, Neve, pre's like pre and EQs. I think they're 1073 or 1084s. So you get that like real great drum sound. And then I'm playing to the real guitar stuff that's there. And we'll go through some. So if I've learned it on the fly, because there was quite a few songs that I had to learn in like a week and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
There's no time for him to say, "Oh, that's cool what you're doing," or "I think it should be this or it should be that." So what we'll do is basically we would go in for the newer stuff. We would just do section by section, and we would scrutinize each section, right? So if I played an intro, he'd be like, "That's cool," or he's like, I'm thinking it needs this. I'm thinking it needs that. Or I'm thinking this or I'm that. And then him and I will go back and forth. We'll negotiate. He'll have an idea. I'll try the idea. Hey, that's cool. He'll say something. I think it should be this way. Okay, cool. Or sometimes I had a part that I really liked and he had a part and we would just marry the two together. Or the part, not he had a part, but a part from the demo session that was there. And I'm like, I think this is cool. What if we put them together? And sometimes you'll come up with cool ideas that way. But essentially, like, just so that we can make sure everything was done correctly, we did section by section by section by section.
Wow.
Because it was new material. I had no time because like certain songs like Everything Hurts, Plague the Most, Wax Mask, and then what's the fucking other one? There was a fourth one that I'm like totally fucking drawing blanks on. Yeah. Anyways, there was a fourth one. There was a fourth one that was there that like I had months and months to fuck around with. Like Ryan and I had went out to Will's and like put it together and fucked around with stuff. And then those demos came home and I just went to our studio and I learned it. I'm like, that could be cool. That could be better. Let me try a different kick pattern. Let me try a different thing. Blah, 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 blah. So when we approached those songs, those went like real quick. Sometimes I would nail it and he'd be like, that's cool. And then sometimes be like, let's marry what was the original demo versus what you have now there. So it was a lot of that just because of this process. And this was like the first Poison the Well record that we did where we weren't in a room banging our heads against the wall trying to figure stuff out.
Wow.
It was all written with us in a room doing it, but not like playing, but like with a fucking studio set. It's essentially a studio record, you know?
Right.
Whereas Tropigrot, we were in a rehearsal spot for, 2.5, 3 months, like literally, and this is pre, having access to nice recording stuff and, like, it was the beginning of the age of the smartphone. So we would like record shit on a crappy boombox. Like when we did the record with Evans, we had just shitty demos that we brought to him.
Wow.
And he kind of went through, and same thing with every record prior. We'd be in when I growing up in Florida, like my dad had converted the garage that I had, into like a studio. So most of You Come Before You was written and fucked around with in my dad's garage and stuff like that, where it was always in the room, which there's value to that. But there's also value in just, you're in there with the producer and everybody's in the room and, Ryan has some riffs and Will could work with Ryan and Ryan, that's cool. I feel like I want to hear more of that. Doing what a producer does, like pulls the best out, and then we start doing drums and I'm like, hey, what if we did this? I'm thinking this, He's like, well, what do you think for a fill? I don't know. Put a placeholder. I'll come back to it and I'll fuck around with it. And then I'd come back and fuck around with it. Just shit like that,
Yeah.
It was a lot of that, which was it's just a whole new process for me. It was very, very foreign.
I was about to say, I'm almost getting anxiety in hearing you talk about like going into this and then relying on communication and bouncing off different ideas and having the sort of studio wherewithal to try that and figure it out and like have these discussions. I don't know. I would find that stressful personally.
At first it was real stressful. It was incredibly stressful because it was like, not only were we coming back to the band and making our first record in 16, 17 years.
Right.
But it was like, it's also going into a super foreign situation with people that I had never worked with Will before. He's great. But it's just no rapport. Jeffrey Ryan and I are still trying to figure out where's this go and what is it going to be. Like it was a lot of that. It was a lot of figuring it out. And on top of it, it's like, I could have been lazy and I could have just went with what we came up with, like demo wise. But that's I don't know. I want to be competitive with myself. So like whatever was there, I'm like, can I beat that? And sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes the basic fill that we came up with it worked, And then sometimes I'm like, no, like I could beat it, and I did, And yeah, it was real. I think it was really important that I did that, especially first record in 16, 17 years. Like I felt like I needed to really give it all, even though it was somewhat a confusing process. I needed to give it all, And I won't go into crazy details, but the record was broken up into 2 sessions. And the first session was incredibly stressful and we lost a lot of time.
Yeah.
So coming back for the second session, the clock was on. So the idea of moving into the next record is we're going to go to Will's whenever he has time at different points and start demoing stuff. So that by the time we go out there to do LP number 7, whenever that is, a year and a half from now, we already have hopefully 10 songs, 10, 11, 12 songs. He already knows what it is. I already know what it is. Everybody knows what they're going to do. There's more of an understanding. Maybe we can knock a few out there. But there's not having to do a bunch of songs. But at the end of the day, that just falls on us and sort of bad decisions that sort of we made, which, like I said, it's just when you're coming back and you're trying to figure it out, you're going to try things and it's going to work. And then you're going to try things and it's going to work. And we tried a few things and they didn't work. And it just cost us time, really, you know.
Right.
But
Right.
at the end of the day, I feel really great about the record.
Right.
So as long as the record is being well received and we're pumped on it and people love it and it propels us forward in the direction that we want to go, growing pains. Let's just not do the same thing again. Let's not make the same mistakes when we do the next record.
Right, right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of it comes down to nomenclature, and that's one of the things that I was imagining while you were talking about working with somebody sort of on the fly with ideas, like how do they describe particular things. I'm like if we're playing at 160 BPMs on the third measure, like halfway through that, you play a tag. I kind of subdivide everything so I can address that particular section and use relatively musical terms to describe it. But if you're working with somebody who doesn't describe it that way, like I've literally been in bands where I've been playing songs and it's like we're speaking two different languages. So that's I was like, oh man, I could see how this could be rough potentially. But once you get a sense of how people communicate with things, then you're like, okay, I get it. If that's not exactly the way that I would describe it, I do understand what you're saying. So now we could fucking communicate, you know? But it could be tough.
I mean, sometimes that was a problem because I don't communicate drums in that way. Like I'm like, oh, like, you know, I'm putting the snare on the 2 and the 4. Oh, I'm putting the snare on 3. I'm doing quarter notes on the hi-hats. I'm doing 8th notes, 16th notes. Oh, I'm doing a triplet fill.
Yeah.
These accents here. Like I speak in very basic terms just because I don't experience or think about music in that way.
Right.
Like when I hear music, it becomes a sort of flow state experience that makes me feel something. It's not an intellectual thing.
Right.
It's an emotional thing. And so, you know, sometimes it becomes difficult if I haven't reviewed it because I generally won't review it if I don't have to.
Yeah.
But I just don't really communicate that. So sometimes Will and I would talk past one another if he was explaining something and he would have to hit the playback and I'd be like, okay, I see what you're saying. But he also moves very quickly too.
Right.
He hones in on something and he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And like my brain was over here thinking about something else or whatever. So,
right.
So yeah, it's the language of describing stuff. You know, within the band, you know, we have people that are incredibly creative and have zero musical ability to communicate, like, you know, quarter notes or whatever.
Right.
And then you have people that have like really in-depth knowledge of how to do that. And I think we find a common ground in how to communicate with one another. This is the same thing with Will. Will wasn't like, oh, that dotted eighth note or whatever. He's like, oh, that. You know, he can kind of communicate in like normal language, like, you know, barbarian language, and you know, and he'd be like, oh, you know, like you know, do that, you know, 16th note picking pattern or whatever, you know, like it's kind of a hybrid of both. Just because, some of us just don't think about it. It's an emotional sort of experience. Yeah.
I mean, I would say that that's the strength of your playing, which we kind of alluded to earlier. I've never listened to you and thought that you seemed like this cerebral player necessarily. I think you are very specific in the patterns that you do play, but I think that all sort of begins with sort of your gut instinct of what is musical in that moment. And then maybe you alter the things from there. That's just my assessment of your playing in hearing you over, you know, multiple records.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty spot on. I always go with my intuition, and then from my intuition, I'll then get analytical and I'll just wait for flashes of creativity to come. I'm like, man, and I'll loop a part in my brain if I'm in the shower or from my studio or wherever. I'm like, this needs to go. This needs to make me feel something. This needs to do a certain thing for the song. How do I achieve that? By like not underplaying, but not overplaying, but getting right up to where it like needs to be. That's always my normal way of thinking. And because sometimes I also need to be pushed a little further, because where I naturally think is the line, sometimes, especially with heavy music, it needs to go a little further. But I also think that, like, especially for the way I view music and I think my playing works, is like everything important happens in between the space of the notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like some people you have to fill up the space. There's some people where it's just like the space is not a problem necessarily, but like the more you fill it up, the more it makes sense for whatever they're doing. But I feel like for me, it's like it's always in between. Everything important is like it's in between. Yeah, it's in between the notes of like maybe not so much with the new record, because the new record is we went for a very produced record, you know, and we also did it to a grid. But
right.
in a normal situation, if you look at Pro Tools and you look at like my hi-hat, you'll see that my snare and my kick are always like slightly behind. That's kind of what I mean. The same thing where it's just like it's all like the stuff that happens in between that. Like that's where like the groove comes from, and that's where someone's actual feel and identity like kind of hang out in, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, there was like a Rick Beato thing where he was like looking at the waveform of John Bonham's drum parts, and he was like, look at this, look how it fluctuates, look how this doesn't necessarily line up, but ultimately, what are we going to say? That John Bonham wasn't playing killer shit, right? So I agree with you. There's definitely a lot of the feel and identity can come from a lesser obvious place, but I think what you're saying is ultimately true. I think there's a lot of identity in that space. And I think, again, I think that's what you have, you know, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like the most important part of being a musician is like you could just start playing a groove, and within a few minutes, you're like, oh, that's this person, that's that person.
Totally.
You know, the way they hit the drums, the way they tune their drums,
absolutely.
The sound that comes out of it, like that. Like I'm saying, like the hi hat, and then you can kind of see where it's like, is the snare on it? Is it a little ahead? Is it a little bit behind? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. How did the reunion tour of sorts come about for The Opposite of December, and how did you feel about the reception from the audience? Because I did not see y'all on that tour, but I did see video of it, and I was like, these guys are kind of having a moment right now. I felt like y'all were having a moment.
I would definitely agree with that. It was actually something suggested by our manager, just because, you know, I don't know, our brains don't really work that way. We don't really look back, we look forward, and it's a manager's job to look at to survey everything and look at what makes sense and all the stuff going on and be a manager.
Right.
So he had presented the idea to us, and we were all into it. But you know, some of the songs we hadn't played forever, and it was definitely a bit of a challenge to put those boots back on and go out there and do it, you know, because we're not teenagers anymore.
Yeah.
In terms of like reception, it was great. It was the biggest tour we ever did. I mean, you know, granted, you know, Klaus Shaw was on it, Better Lovers was on it. There's, you know, it was a great lineup, you know. But I feel like for the most part we were quite well received, and it was great, you know. Like I wouldn't have thought to do it. It was incredibly stressful leading up to it, but at the end of the day, it was a success. So I mean, I'm just real grateful.
Yeah. What did you realize about your early self and having to revisit all of those parts from those original recordings and where you were at the time?
I mean, some of the stuff is like I just wouldn't play that now, for better or for worse. You know, I would do things differently. It also made me realize too, because you know, I used to listen to those recordings and be like, man, I speed up and I slow down a lot. You know, and then I kind of remember, like, as I was analyzing some of that stuff and I was thinking back, I was like, no one really took into consideration like flat tempos. It would be like, oh, let's put this part here with that part and then do this. And then it goes really fast. And then it, like when you slow down, like I kind of remember our original singer Ari with some of the earliest stuff, even though he didn't record vocals on it, he was around for some of it before Jeffrey came in. And I kind of remember him being like, oh, that shit's got to be heavy, or it's you know, it's got to be fast, or like, and if you like flatten some of these tempos out, like just the parts just don't work. They don't have the same impact. So it's like it's like learning a song like 12/23/93. It's like the intro is one tempo, and then when it comes in, it like slows down a little bit. You know, that's like two different tempos. You know,
right.
And then the B section, it's good. It speeds up a little bit, and then when it comes back, it slows down. It's just like it's literally just all over the place. I'm like, man, I wouldn't have written music like this. Like it's like But yeah, we were fucking 17, 18 years old at the time.
Yeah,
So
totally, man. Jesus, you were doing pretty damn good to be a late teenager, man. I wouldn't.
oh,
That's
dude, absolutely no complaints, no regrets. As much as I say like, oh, I wouldn't do that, or
right.
I had to relearn it. I had to like like kind of basically like relearn how to play double kick as well.
Right.
Because I hadn't done that shit in forever. So I was taking lessons with a few different people, and I landed with this guy named James Payne, who's fucking awesome, who like understands in depth. I'm like, oh, this is happening. He's like, he knows exactly what I'm doing, and I've been working with him pretty consistently for like the past year and a half, and it basically went from like a dead left leg to like pretty active. Like I'm approaching the point where I'm going to have to go back to him, and we're going to have to start getting into swivel.
Right.
So swivels are around like 190, 200.
Yeah.
I'm getting real close to like the left leg, because he was like, once you learn it and you get the motion, you just have to play a bunch. And some people pick it up really quick for whatever reason.
Not me.
And some people pick it. Yeah, same. It's not just not natural to play rhythm with your feet. It's natural to tap it.
Right.
But as you know, with the foot, you're manipulating it. It's sort of, you're manipulating your foot to be able to do it. So it was a combination of like literally having to bring my left foot back and learn ankle technique from scratch, and then also correct some stuff with my right leg, because I was starting to get this aching pain where like my leg meets my pelvic region, which means I was relying too much on my leg. And then it's like, once you kind of get those two, then like you have to learn how to balance yourself with your back. It's just like all these like little things. And then it's like 120, it's all hip flexor. And as like you go upwards to about like 170, 180, it slowly phases from hip flexor to ankle.
Right.
So like every 10 BPMs, it's a slightly different thing. And it's not conscious. You should be doing it, and it should be a pure feel thing. That's kind of what he conveyed to me.
Well, it's not only spring tension, it's also the angle of the beater. And it's like, I was literally just talking to a guy that plays brutally fast shit. And I was like, I can imagine how you have like these precision, high tension, close to the head pedals. But like, honestly, do you feel comfortable playing like 120 with those? He's like, oh, fuck no. He's like, no, those are built for speed. He's like, you've just got it. That is what is so tough about this shit. That's part of it.
The foot stuff, it's real difficult to like. I mean, I kind of see why those dudes that go real fast use triggers, because it's like, especially with the way James talked about it, is like once you start getting into the swiveling territory, what happens is like the beater doesn't go all the way back. It's like doing this, because you don't the time and distance to actually stay in like 200, 210, 220, right. 230, 240. It can't, there's not enough time for it to go back.
Right.
That's the same thing with swivel. He kind of explained to me with swivel. They do that because you get more motion. If you're just doing this like super fast, you don't have that range of motion, where when you start swiveling, you're opening up more space to go fast. Thankfully, I don't want to go like super crazy. I want to get to like 200, 210, maybe 220.
Right.
I can't see PTW going faster than that. There might be some moments that might be cool, future material. But like, yeah, that's kind of like my next thing, where like James, I think he plays a Cataclysm, and I think he's like, I'm doing 240, 250, 260, like these crazy, like just insane tempos. I'm like, oh man, it's like nuts.
I've talked about it. I've been talking about it, especially lately, because I've been interviewing some extreme drummers, and sort of every now and again dropping sort of my own struggles with double bass. But it's a story that I've told. There's a guy out in LA as well, Ken Schalk, originally from Candiria, who we talked about the last time.
Ken's my boy.
I did take a lesson with him, and he's the guy that he was like, let's break your whole drum set down. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, literally, we're gonna disassemble it. I'm gonna have you sit. We're gonna orient you with your pedals. We're gonna orient you with your snare drum. Then we're gonna attach the bass drum. Then we're gonna build it that way. And that's how you're ultimately gonna have a sense of your balance. But you need to be centered. I was completely cockeyed. it was all fucked up. He was like, dude, I didn't even realize I was leaning one way and I was like, why is my left leg struggling? He's like, because you're not balanced. You've got completely two different depths. You're leaning to one side, you're favoring one side, then struggling with the other side. He brought all that shit up. I was like, fuck, man. I was bummed, but man, I've said it many times and I'll say it again. I'm really, really so glad, despite the fact that I still struggle with it today, that he 100% helped me in that regard.
Yeah. Ken's the man.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to hang out. I'm going to hang out with him on Monday. He's going to come to my studio, and we were kind of chopping it up and talking music before I left to record. I was like, I don't see taking lessons, but I was like, hey, can you mentor me? Because I feel like I've hit a bit of a wall in terms of like my perception of like, I guess the creative field. I don't know if that's the right word really, but like, I'm kind of limiting myself, and I feel like the way you play, I feel like if there would be a super advanced version of myself, it would be more in line with your style, where it's like very caveman, very barbaric, but it's also like hyper intelligent, hyper music. It's like this interesting balance of things that you don't normally see. And he was like, oh man, absolutely. And I would just come pick his brain.
Fuck
and
yeah.
He would just like, he talked about this one. Exercise that was great. That he said would help me, and is a great exercise. It's called music over measure.
Mm-hmm.
So you start whatever you're starting in 4/4, and you start the kick on the 1. But what you try to do at that point is not land the downbeat on the 1 for as long as you can go. So you're playing around with it, and you're like, maybe throwing it on the and of 4, or 4, and like you're moving it around, but you're not landing on the 4, which helps you get a good sense of where you're at and playing around with it. So that was one he told me, and then he was like, he told me a few things that were just like obvious things, like, oh, it's okay, you're going to sit on the drum set and you're going to play, and it's going to suck. You're just going to be searching for something, right. And you're going to play, and you're going to have to go through a bunch of okay ideas, or mediocre ideas, or pretty good ideas, or to find the thing that you're looking for. And I just wouldn't do that. I was, for whatever reason, maybe it's a sort of subconscious sort of like, not embarrassment, but like some sort of subconscious feeling a little insecure about it, like not wanting to do that. And then the moment I started doing that, I was like, oh, I see exactly what he's talking about. You just stumble through shit. But you'll find stuff as you're stumbling through stuff, know? Which I thought was really valuable. And like, it's so fucking obvious, but just for some reason, I just wasn't doing it. And another thing he told me, he was like, intentionally try to fuck up and find your way back.
That's an interesting one.
And to intentionally try to fuck up and find your way back. And I was like, oh yeah, that's so fucking obvious, but nobody does that, because when you want to do something, you want to play something so that it sounds right. And so it's just shit like that, like just really strong nuggets of stuff that like we would talk, and he would kind of drop those on me, and I'm like, okay, let me think about that. And then when I'd go back and I'd go to my studio, I would implement those. And I also started just fucking around with like tons of odd meters. I would go in and I'll just do 5/4, and I'll do 5/4 like for like 15-20 minutes, and then I'll go into like 11/4, but I'll break up the subdivisions to like a 6 and a 5, or a 5 and a 6, and I'll just play around, and I'll try to find that same thing, like 7/4, 6/4, 9/4, like just whatever, and just start learning to play around solo, just feel comfortable in that. I think him and I didn't get into super detail about that, but he did say that at one point. You got to play it. You get good at stuff because you play it. And it's like I would just primarily play in like 4/4, or like 12/8, or 6/8, or 3/4, because nothing I was doing was really exploring those particular odd meters. But I'm like, well, I can't explore them if I don't get good at them. If they don't feel like second nature to me, It's a lot of that stuff, of just like giving me these things to think about, and then I go back to my studio, and then I start doing it, and I'm like, oh, I see exactly what he's talking about. This makes sense. Okay, and like seeing like the Candiria language of like how he played and how like the guitars would give him like a rhythmic platform to play with stuff, you know?
That's definitely
So
his approach. It's funny that you say that. Like I to this day, I'll sit in my house here, like I'm in my studio now downstairs, and I'll sit down and I subconsciously, I think, what if someone's listening to me now? And as if I'm in a practice space and there's someone outside like smoking a cigarette being like, wow, that guy's awesome. Who's in there right now? And there's no one, we're like on 12 acres. There's no one hearing this shit. And I'm still in that fucking state of mind. And I sit down and I'm like, I have to like go to my go-tos and do like 10 minutes of fucking shredding and make sure that it like everything connects. So that's really interesting what Ken said about letting yourself make mistakes, getting out of it, and just sort of getting out of literally the mindset that I'm in almost every fucking time that I sit down at this drum set.
it's just ego, you know, it's just the human ego at the end of the day. So it's like, but also too, if you find cool shit, if you're stumbling around and you come across something, like I've come across a few different cool things on like 10/4 and like 7/4, or like, okay, I'm going to come back to that a bit. I'm going to explore more of that because I think there's something there, but it's still like a seedling of an idea. So I need to find out where this goes and fuck around with it and explore it. And I'm using that philosophy. I don't even call it a fucking philosophy. I just basic common sense that he told me.
right.
And just doing it and just like, oh, okay, I could see it. And I'm like, yeah, I fuck it up a lot, and that's okay. Like even when if I'm doing something, I've been fucking around with this like this kind of like a groove in like, it's like, you know, 10/4, so it's 2 bars of 5, and like some of it revolves around on the tom, some of it kind of goes on a trash stack, some of it is like spacious, you know. Sometimes I'm feeling a kick and I'm just doing all that, and I fuck up a lot, but I'm like, I just got to keep doing this. And when I fuck up, I just kind of laugh and I just jump back into it because I want to explore and see where it goes. Like I just wouldn't do that prior to working with Ken, because it wouldn't have even occurred to me, because the same thing is I got to play all my strong shit. I got to play the, you know, and it's just a weird, I think about it now, I'm like, that's such a weird place to fall into.
Yeah,
like
it
you
is.
have to explore the drum set. You have to put stuff together. That's another thing. I'm like, I try to put like clusters of rudiments together that like I haven't heard before, that it satisfies the checklist of the things that are important to me, and explore with it, open it up a little bit, you know, that sort of thing. Like where can I take this basic 8-beat lick, you know, like what can I do with it? How can I move it around? Can I apply it to Poison Well? Does it need to go somewhere else? Is it just going to live in the studio? Is it just something that I stick on the fucking shelf, and at some point it will present itself when a piece of music comes to me that I can apply it to, you know?
Yeah. And going downstairs here and just like ripping solos, like I said, I often do the second that I sit down, just fucking blasting through it. I realized only recently, again, I'm 35 or 36 years of playing drums. Only literally like in the past month or so, I was like, I should probably just try to figure out with all the licks and rudiments and everything that I know, that like how to transition from one to the other and maybe to another. Because there was all these kind of disparate, in my mind, sort of like boxes of rudiments and licks.
Yeah, same.
And I was always like, all right, and then I would listen to myself and I was literally stumbling, you know, connecting to them. So I was like, I already have like I've been doing this for over, 30 years. Like I know a lot of this shit. At some point I need to actually look, which kind of goes back to what you were saying about the spaces. How about the transitions of just getting from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 with licks that you're strong with? I never even fucking thought about it.
It's funny that you bring that up, because I saw something on YouTube where a guy, I forget who it was, I'd like to credit him, but I totally can't remember who he is. So essentially he spoke about some of the greatest drummers out there. They've mastered a few licks, and they've learned how to sort of stretch those licks out into groove form or into a fill form or whatever. But they just know these licks inside and out. It's not like they have 1,000 licks. They have maybe like 10 licks that they interchange and they weave together. And like, not only is it cool because you start to pick it up because it's a catchy element and it's a identifiable element to their playing. But then they just can constantly become these different things, because if you just know 10 licks inside and out and you could execute them at will, you could literally do anything at any point depending upon how you feel. And each time it's going to sound a little different. It's going to be a little bit different of pizzazz to it, And it's like, it's something like Stuart Copeland. Like, there's some things that he always fucking does. So like, the moment he goes to his ride, he's going to be hitting the bell and he's going to be syncopating his kick with the bell pattern.
That's it.
It's a very identifiable sonic trait, signature thing that
absolutely
is instantly identifiable with him.
Instantly.
So I'm trying to take on that philosophy where, like, okay, what sort of rudiments speak to me? What licks speak to me? Can I master these things? Can I put them together? Can I make them sound like me? And can I get so good at them that I can interweave them at any fucking point? And it's just every time it's a little different,
Yeah. I think it goes back to transitioning between them and mixing them up and figuring out how to get between them to the extent, because if you have them in your vocabulary already, a lot of it is about, like, if you want to string them together, you got to know how to do it. And that's just a matter of sitting there and doing it. But I was going to say a little bit to your point also, I took lessons with Blake Fleming, who's an amazing drummer, Dazzling Killman, our original Mars Volta drummer. Took a couple with him. I also did some with JP Bouvet, who's an amazing younger drummer.
Yeah.
And I'm accrediting both of them because they might have told me the same thing twice, even though it took me years to accept it. I think both of them were like, sit down and just kind of like play for me. So of course, like I said, I sit down, I'm ripping, I'm fucking playing a solo. And if not both of them at some point said, you could get a lot more mileage out of like a single idea in that if you just were willing to just sit there and develop it. And that again goes back to the patience thing and like focus, and like patience and focus aren't necessarily like my strong suits.
Yeah.
So what the fuck,
Yeah. To your thing, to what you're saying, I've definitely stumbled down the JP Bouvet YouTube algorithm where it's feeding me a lot of his videos. And like, I would love to study with him because the way he breaks stuff down and the way he feeds it, he makes it so palatable and easy to understand.
Extremely.
Yeah, I don't know if he does. I don't know if he's doing like private lessons at all. But yeah, at some point, if I could sit down and take some lessons with him, like in person, I wouldn't want to do the sort of the sort of over online thing. But like like have him be like, hey, I'm playing. Where are the holes in my playing so I could plug them? That I can't see.
Right. Yeah. He is especially brilliant in being such a young guy. In a lot of what we're talking about. Shout out to JP Bouvet, apparently, in transitioning between those things, and it's sort of stretching a vocabulary and finding those little nuances to where that it becomes so unconscious that you can, at almost a moment's notice, kind of riff between a fairly, like maybe 2-3 ideas, but you've expanded upon it so much and moved those orchestrations around that it sounds dynamic and it changes a lot, and that's part of it. But that again, I still struggle with it, even though I know that that's something that I should do. I'm acknowledging it.
I completely agree. I'm in the same boat. I definitely to what you were saying, I stumbled upon a video where he does the 4 and the 6, and he talks about using like a 4 lick and a 4 lick and a 2 lick, so you make 6. And then you put them together and you orchestrate them around the kid, and then you fuck with the dynamic on the 2, like the 2 beats. And he was just the way he broke it down and he made like a somewhat relatively simple thing sound incredibly complicated, and like it was just this sort of ever moving, evolving sort of thing. And I was like, oh yeah, fucking that's great. And I had seen a video at some point where he talked about the 4 and the 6. It's like so it'd be like right, left, kick, and then right, left. And then just that's it. That's the pattern. But you have to get good at it. You have to, learn how to move it around and make it sound musical and give it a little bit of panache, a little bit of feel, and then learn to fuck with the dynamics of it, so it becomes like a different thing, a different animal that you can sort of move around and execute at will.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Question for you about working with Greg Puciato. The Mirrorcell record is awesome. Reality Spiral is my fucking jam on that record.
Cool,
God,
man.
how killer is that song? How was it working on that record? The last time we talked, his first record was about to come out. So I haven't talked to you about working with him on these subsequent records, but especially that one.
Yeah.
And what was your experience working on that record?
It was actually kind of the opposite of working with Will, and not in a bad way, but just the experience itself. He originally wanted to do an EP. That Mirrorcell was supposed to be an EP. He had sent me a bunch of demo ideas, and I have a lot of at the time. I don't, because I haven't worked with Greg in a while, and I don't know if he's going to do any new solo stuff. I'm going to be involved, so. But at the time, I had a lot of creative liberty with like the drum parts and what I can do, and he would just send rough sketches, and then I would just kind of go to town with what was there. And I'd send it back, and he would have very little to say, which was always great for me and always made me feel really great. And then we went and fucking ripped the drums. We did drums at 606. We did about 5 songs in one day, and then I thought it was done at that point. I was like, okay, the EP's done, whatever. And then he was like, hey, I want to go back and I want to do a few more songs. And he sent me a few more demos. I kind of like did my thing over it. It came out fucking good. And then we went back and then we just ripped the rest of the songs out. It was like, it was basically 2 days at 606, and the full record was done. And
wow,
we did. Steve Ebbets produced it and engineered it, and I've worked with Steve a bunch, so it was real fun and real comfortable. And yeah, I mean, overall it was a real awesome experience. It was great to work at 606. It was pre-Taylor dying,
right?
So at one point we borrowed like one of his cymbal stands and like a china, and then one part we did like a bunch of like concert tom overdubs that didn't make it on the record, but we grabbed a bunch of his like the natural concert toms.
Yeah,
did a bunch of like little ideas, and it was just like, it was kind of cool. And then obviously not too long after that he passed away, which is rest in peace,
of
Taylor
course.
Hawkins.
Fuck yeah, man. Damn. So I'm looking at your snare rack back there. I don't believe that we spoke about any particular snares, but what are some of your, I know at this point it looks like you've got 4 racks behind you there.
So I have like one of those single racks that you can get from IKEA that are stackable.
Yeah.
So on that rack back there, it's like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, because there's a snare drum that I just got from Gretsch that's on the back over here.
A 20-inch snare drum? What are you talking about?
No. I'm sorry. So let me clarify. The rack back here can accommodate up to 20 snare drums. So
it's like, what the fuck, Chris? A 20-inch snare drum? This is excessive, man.
It's like 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, because there's 3 up there, but then I have a Gretsch snare drum over here.
I got
you. Can't see, that's being blocked by those brick of sticks.
I got you. What's some of your favorites, man?
Let me see, what the fuck do I have over here? Hold on. This is what I used on. Oh yeah, I gotta move the snare drum, or I gotta move the chair. So this Gretsch bell brass.
Yeah,
I bought this during the early stages of the pandemic.
Yep.
I used, not this one in particular, but on Greg's first record, I used a version of this that was Josh Wilburn's that we had borrowed. And it sounded so good, and I knew how affordable it was, especially at the time.
At the time. They've gotten more expensive.
Yeah. I think I bought this for around like $1,000 or $1,100.
That's what they were during the pandemic, and I was like, I'm going to get one now, and I didn't. Yeah, but.
Yeah, these things are awesome. So I use this. So a version, Josh Wilbur's, we used on Child Soldier. The studio portion of the fuck content sort of live stream that he put out during the pandemic. There's a bunch of footage of it online of us recording. This is the snare drum that I used on that session, and then this is also the snare drum that I used on Mirrorcell.
No shit.
Yeah, so this is an awesome go-to 3mm fucking 14 by 6.5 brass snare drum. This thing sounds
die-cast hoops on it, right?
Yeah, that's the Gretsch. That's kind of what they send standard out with because this is a USA custom.
Exactly.
So that's what they send out. But this drum is fucking awesome. The first song that Poison the Well re-recorded before we did the new record, we had re-recorded like an old song off of Tear from the Red, an acoustic song that we did as a full band. I used the snare drum on that too. So this drum definitely has some sentimental value to it, you know.
Hell yeah,
and on top of the fact that it just sounds great,
Badass.
I don't really want to get rid of it just because it rules.
Hold on to it.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. Hold on, I got a whole like bunch of bullshit. My studio is a little bit of a mess right now.
No problem. Or is that your garage that you converted into a studio, or is this a studio room in a warehouse? Where
No, this is my second bedroom. That is essentially my studio.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a second bedroom. I got like fucking 5 drum sets in here, a practice pad set up, all my cymbal. It's a full on room. Like I said, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I need to kind of clean it up.
Yeah.
This is the Tama.
Oh God.
Bell Brass the reissue.
Oh boy.
It's awesome. I got a great fucking deal on this thing right when it came out.
Whoa.
It's one of the best snare drums I own. It sounds just incredible.
Holy shit.
We used the 40th anniversary of Will owns one. We used the 40th anniversary reissue on the entire record, and it sounded fucking awesome.
Damn.
But this drum in general is this is the Michael Jordan of fucking snare drums right here.
It's heavy as shit, I imagine, right?
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I got my paper back here to
dampen it just in case the snares aren't going crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, this thing is just dynamite. I wish I'm not a Tama guy, I'm a DW guy, so you know.
Right.
I wish that that DW would make something comparable to this in an 8x14, because I'm a big fan of the like a 3mm 8, you know, 14 by 8.
Yeah.
The closest that they do is they have a PDP 14 by 8 cast shell that I picked up not too long ago that I did a few modifications to. Like I put die-cast tubes on it. I changed some of the internal hardware, and there was a thick industrial clear coat that was on the outside, and it was on the edge and the beds that I completely got rid of.
Interesting.
And the thing sounds fucking awesome. It's I still need to remove the clear on the inside.
Yeah.
And I might take it to a third party to widen the beds, because right now I can only fit like a normal snare strand, whatever it is. But I want to be able to put 30 or 40s on.
Yeah. Damn.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna have that. That's gonna be my main snare drum. That the PDP fucking cast bronze drum is gonna be my main on the Converge tour. It sounds awesome. I would say that this is gonna be a controversial take, and I haven't done an A/B yet, but I would say that like the PDP and the Tama Bell Brass will beat it, but it's not by a huge margin.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you for saying that.
I will. It's not a hill that I'm necessarily willing to die on quite yet, because I haven't done like the A/B sound testing. But you know, I would have absolutely no problems showing up with that snare drum to like a real recording session, and it like probably beating a majority of stuff, because that's essentially what this is a bronze shell. And that's what that is. It's a bronze shell too. I don't know. They call it Tama Bell Brass. I think just something got lost in the translation from Japanese to English.
Oh, well, that's like I have the Japanese 80s Tama Superstars, and they're birch shells, but they're called Super Maple.
Not maple, birch, but
correct. So okay, this makes sense to me.
so yeah. So you know, as being a very loyal DW guy, I would say anybody that can get a hold of one of those PDP 14x8s, do it.
Nice, dude.
They're fucking, they're ace. And I'm a big fan of the 14x6.5 bronze DW snare drum. That was like my main. That was my main one on the opposite tour.
Gotcha. Crazy,
So,
crazy.
But
man.
yeah, I do need to do the AB with this and that drum. But I have to remove the internal clear coat on the other drum to kind of make it a little bit more vibrant and lifelike.
I gotcha.
But yeah, this drum is awesome. What else do I have over here? I have a lot of stuff. I have a bunch of Q shit. I have an old AOT Keplinger stainless steel. I have a 14x8 black iron Keplinger snare drum.
Oh, I want to see that. Let's see that. 14x8 Keplinger black steel?
Black iron.
Black iron?
Yeah. With bronze cast hoops.
Oh, wow. Look at that thing. Whoa, dude. That thing looks crazy. And that's wild.
Yeah, so it's Keplinger. It's just basically a raw black iron shell. This is very fucking heavy. I was thinking about bringing this to when we were going to go record with Will, but I was like, I really don't feel like lugging this thing on a plane, 3,000 miles away. But I think the next round that we go, I might ship out like a drum kit, and I might ship out like a few snare drums.
Yeah.
So, we'll probably use his 40th anniversary, but I'll probably bring my PDP 14x8. I'll probably bring this and maybe one other variation that's like in the same sort of sphere. But
all die cast.
But yeah,
that's interesting.
None of these are cast bronze.
What is the difference between I say die cast? I guess I suppose just by looking at the way it wraps around the tension rods and the density of it. What is the difference between a die cast and that?
So cast bronze is obviously it's a cast bronze hoop.
Okay.
Whereas die cast, it's a different alloy combination. I don't really know, but you definitely notice the sonic difference. I've noticed with because I have a set of these. These are 8 lugs. They look like die cast, but they're formed like die cast, and they're 8 lugs. I have a set of Duluth, kind of more of the Tama style, like the marching style ones that are 10 lugs. And I put those ones on the Gretsch bell brass, and it made it dried out the drum a little bit, and it made the bottom snare head a little bit more responsive.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know the necessarily the alloy difference. Obviously, like I said, I know this is cast bronze. And I'm interested to see how this would sound under mic. It might not be good for everything, but if it needs to kind of be tuned super low and dead with just a big old backbeat, that this might be a good one.
Nice, dude.
I picked this up when I was in Philly. From fucking was it Philadelphia Drum?
Okay, yeah.
My brain's a little farty right now. Yeah. But I saw it on the site, and I was like, "Yo, like, can you?" Because he was going to come to the show. I was like, "Yo, I'll throw you on fucking guest list. Like, can you just bring the drum and I'll give you cash for it?" And it's like,
nice.
And that was it. It was super stoked. I want a 6.5 version of this, but every time they pop up, they go like that. So,
gotcha. Damn, dude. Very cool snare collection.
I got a lot of shit here, and then at my studio, like the PT Dub studio, I have all my DW stuff there. So like, we're getting ready to go on tour or for show or for something. They're just accessible there, and I got like a 14x8 and a 16. I'm sorry, 14x8 and a 14x6.5 satin nickel over brass. So essentially, like the Black Beauty sort of thing,
right?
And then I have a 3mm 14x6.5 aluminum kind of orange peel snare drum. It sounds fucking great. And then I have the PDP 14x8 cast bronze, and then I have the 14x6.5 bronze. I love gear.
Yeah, I love I hear you.
I love gear. I love buying drums. I love buying audio stuff. I like gear. I like investing money. Those are like my two hobbies. I like investing in the stocks. I like investing in the crypto. I like buying gear. That's what I like doing.
I hear you, man. That's hilarious. Oh man, awesome collection, definitely.
Yeah.
Before you go, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, are y'all not playing some shows with the Barbarians of California? I recently came across them, and I love their new record, man.
And so they're on the West Coast portion of the Converge tour.
Awesome, man.
So
I've been loving that
they'll
record.
Be on that, yeah.
It's so much fun.
This is a singer from AWOL Nation, which is fucking wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig his wild approach. All of it. I'm like, it gets me excited. I can listen to that whole damn record. It's a good time.
Yeah, fuck yeah, yeah. They're a cool band.
That's gonna be, and that's awesome that y'all are going out with Converge as well. Ben Kohler will be killing it. That's their new record also, slaying, sounding badass. So yeah, that's what a hell of a lineup, man.
Yeah, Ben's beast. You know, there's not many people that could like. Because I was listening to one of the new songs recently, and I was like, man, he sounds like he's having a panic attack behind those drums. But like it's an anxiety panic attack, but it's absolutely precise.
Right.
Yeah. When you have a panic attack, you're losing your mind, and
right. He somehow is like centered in the chaos.
Yeah, it's like a centered panic attack, anxiety sort of thing that happens, and it's like absolutely perfect for the type of music
what they do
plays.
Totally.
Yeah. It's absolutely perfect. And it's funny because it's like he has a particular feel that I don't think many people can emulate. Because most dudes that play that, it's like it's no disrespect to anybody else, it just doesn't feel like that. And like
I agree.
I feel like with that music, it needs to feel like a panic attack. You know?
And then when he needs to open up, he's really good at opening up too. And playing big bombastic dumb beats. Like he has both, which is awesome.
Yeah, man, he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast of a player, man. He's definitely a fucking beast.
Absolutely. Right on. Well, Chris, man, it was great talking to you, dude. Appreciate checking out the snares, talking the new record, and all of the mini tangents that we went on. That was a good time. Always fun to get in the ADD flow state here, bud.
That's how I roll when I do these things. Like I'll be asked a question and I'll go somewhere else. I'm like, what was the question that you asked?
It's like jazz, man.
Yeah, try to come back to it, you know. Like, what did you ask? Oh yeah. Like I'm not even close to what you were asking, you know.
Hell yeah. Well, man, it was great talking to you again, dude.
Fuck yeah, Jody.
Always good to catch up, man. Best of luck with the new record. I think it sounds great. I think people are really going to dig the hell out of it. And I think one thing I didn't mention is I think y'all going back to those earlier records kind of informed this when I think about the Tropic Rot to this record. Obviously, a lot of years in between them, but I think reverting back to some of those early years, I'm hearing some of that in this record, which I also think is really cool. Kind of a big circular moment, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like this record reminds me a lot of like Tropic Rot, You Gamble for You, and Tear from the Red had like a baby.
Sure.
And then like there's a little bit of versions and there's like a little bit of opposite, but then there's like we kind of go somewhere new. So like it feels like a bunch of those elements, but it's not like cut and paste sort of shit.
Totally.
And then it's like telling a new story essentially.
I agree. Hell yeah. Well, right on, man. Great talking to you, dude. If y'all come through Atlanta at some point, let's stay in touch. It'd be good to catch up with you. And, man, best of luck in 2026, my dude.
Thank you. You too, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Chris for catching up. Great to talk about the new record, upcoming tour, snare drums, chops, grooves, musicality, and all that. Always a good hang. You know how it goes. We'll catch y'all around the bend. Crash, bang, boom.